Hello and greetings. Welcome to the first panel, Day 2 GatherVerse AI Summit 2026. First of all, I'd love to really appreciate Christopher Lafayette for such a high-powered introduction. And we're just only here to maybe answer some of the questions that he had and to discover more. And our topic for today is the rise of physical AI. With me, I have a group of panelists from around the world who are going to help us really to really understand what happens when we put autonomous systems in machines. I'm very curious to understand more. And panelists, I request that you remain muted until called upon to introduce yourself. And we're going to start with the introductions. I will start with you, Key Jones. Tell us who you are and what inspired you to be here with us today. Let's be brief with the introductions.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Whatever end of the world that you're on, but what you asked me what inspired me to be here.
Yes.
I always look forward to being on these panels and in this space. It's just a blessing because we always get to learn from one another and we always get to share our expertise and knowledge just as well. But on another note, yes, I'm Key. I am a responsible AI and ethics innovation leader, but I also am the CEO and founder of Reset, which is an organization that helps women overcome and defeat trauma. And I recently started offering my services to men and youth as well.
Wow, we're happy to have you once again, and you're always welcome back. Siva Prakash. I hope I pronounced that right. If I did, I ask for your forgiveness and please teach me how to pronounce your name correctly.
Yeah, you can call me as Siva. That would be better, shorter. Thank you, for giving me an opportunity. First of all, as Key Jones mentioned, it's a place to contribute everyone's thoughts one among each other, and it's a great place to share our kind of knowledge with among all over the world. And by the way, now introducing myself, and I'm a Siva Prakash Nityanandam. You can call me as Siva. I'm a software architect at Electrify America. Here is it's a charging infrastructure. It's more closely related to what we are going to discuss about the physical AI today. Once again, thank you for giving me an opportunity.
All right, Siva, you're very welcome. I think this is your first time. We greet you, and we're looking forward to hear from you. Marianne, this is not your first time. I'm seeing you for many times right now, but tell us who you are and what inspired you to be here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Really happy to be here. I'm based in Colombia, Medellin, Colombia. I'm Latina. I'm Marian Villa. I work as developer relations at Interledger Foundation, and I focus on building and supporting global communities around open, inclusive financial technology. And my work sits like an intersection between technology, community, and human-centered impact. So I'm honored to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Marianne, we're very honored to have you back as well. Stefan, this is not your first time. You're one of our community members. Tell us who you are and what inspired you to be here with us today.
As they say, this is not my first rodeo. It's good to see y'all. I'm Stefan. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I want to be a voice, a passionate voice in this area of AI, and I have been through the Black AI think tank and National Black AI literacy events. And now I work in the space of ethics and onboarding people into AI, and especially in how we look at it. I bet the Roomba vacuum cleaner right now is listening and excited to see the fact that it's already sort of embodied AI in a vacuum cleaner, but we'll get to that. So it's nice to be here.
Yes, and we will get to that. Stefan, congratulations on the beautiful work that you're doing at Black AI Think Tank. We welcome you and your community. And of course, I'm coming to you, Pooja. This is not the first time as well. We greet you once again. Tell us who you are and what inspired you to be here.
Yes, hi, hello everyone. This is not for the first time I'm here. My name is Pooja. I am the brand evangelist driving GTM at Conversive AI. I operate at the intersection of academia and industry. I say academia because I'm also a founder and editor of science and tech-led platform called techitonics.com. where I publish research and developments that are happening across the robotics, space, health, and future tech. Through this platform, I also interview scientists and I review books related to science fiction, literature, and physics. Other than that, I'm also a long distance runner and I have completed almost 42 marathons since 2016. Yeah. Thank you.
We're very happy to have you here. We can't wait to hear from your insights and your research. And over to you, Golden. This is not your first time as well. We greet you once again. Tell us who you are and what inspired you to be here.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Golden. I'm a strategist for human-centered systems and credibility, reputation, and positioning architecture. I am also the founder of House of Gold, a strategic creative firm where identity, decisions, and positioning are refined before any expansion happening. And we do this globally. Today, I'm here and I would love to further discuss about how AI moves out of the screen and into the real world. The hardest questions are no longer technical, they're human. And so this is a very potent circle to talk about trust, accountability, decision making, and what happens when machines act alongside people in shared spaces. So I think these topics right now are such great to have in our early innovation stages. And I'm excited to see how this ends up today.
All right. Thank you so much. We greet you once again. And as Christopher said, if we don't tackle these questions today, it's too late to do them tomorrow. And we shall start with the panel. Me, myself, I am Linkitao, Communications Director at GatherVerse, and the panelists, shall we begin? All right. I'm thinking about physical AI and the people from around the world who are watching us from wherever they are. And someone is curious, what is the core definition of physical AI and how does it differ from traditional generative AI like LLMs? Who wants to chime in on that first? Siver, bring it on. Please unmute.
Yeah, sure. So maybe, yeah, okay. So first time, correct me if I'm wrong. So what I'm saying is that, physical AI is about intelligence that is embodied in real systems, systems that sense the world, as Stephen introduced about the grooming. So it's a system that sense the world, make decisions, and act on it continuously. The key difference from generative AI is that the physical AI operates in closed loops with the real-time and safety constraints. In EV, especially where we are in the recent days, if you see the most modernist, the physical AI that we can see it out on the road and day-to-day life. For an example, Tesla cars. In EVs, it manages power, it manages the thermal limits, and the grid interaction. And in robotics, for an example, it stabilizes the motion and interaction with uncertain environments. So we have to think about the uncertain environments. That's where the physical AI plays the kind of bigger role. In manufacturing, it adapts process without violating the safety and quality guarantees. But wherein if we can see about the generative AI is increasingly a part of a physical AI. So meaning that within the physical AI, we are bringing the more of a generative AI is a subset of it, where it can help us giving the kind of the suggestions where it has to work on. But when it comes to physical AI, it has to sense the world and it has to give the output.
All right, Siva, you kicked it off. You kicked us off with a very powerful definition, and I want us now to go deep into the matter. What happens when systems are not put in machines and the robotics and all that? And this is where I bring you, Golden, Stefan, and Key to hear your thoughts. What does physical AI? Where does physical embodiment change outcomes that software alone cannot? Why do we need systems that are physical, that can interact with the physical world, that can adapt to a physical environment? Why? We already have enough softwares, and Christopher has mentioned there are over 400 protocols that are launched every week. So why do we need them? Golden, tell me your thoughts.
That's a great question. Embodiment matters wherever the world is messy, unpredictable, and of course shared with humans. So, real environments do have a lot of noise, a lot of timing issues, and unexpected behavior. So, a physical system has to react in that moment. It has to handle uncertainty and make trade offs between speed, efficiency, safety, accuracy. There's a lot of ping ponging going around in the embodiment of physical AI. So, software can stimulate this. A robot has to be able to live inside of it. So, this is where the key difference is that physical actions can't be undone. A wrong answer from software can be ignored. A wrong move from a robot can damage objects, injure people, or create risk, or do quite the opposite. So, embodiment matters, extremely important wherever the world is messy, unpredictable, and again, shared with humans.
That's a very interesting view. And Kate Jones, I want to hear from your lens of seeing this. What do you think? Why do you need a physical embodiment?
Absolutely. I'm gonna answer that question a little backwards, and I'm gonna piggyback off what Golden said. Software can actually advise, but physical AI is what's gonna move that matter. So physical environment actually matters anywhere where outcomes depend on, let's say, contact, force, motion, also presence, even in healthcare, when you're caregiving and manufacturing, also disaster response, infrastructure repair, and rehabilitation. So again, software can advise, but that physical AI is what's going to move the matter.
All right. Stefan, Key and Golden have mentioned disaster response. What is your take on this? Why do you also need a physical AI?
Well, I think it can do a lot more things than we can as people. And whereas AI, we understand it can do a lot as far as our thinking, and even beyond that. Physical AI can actually go some places, in robotics that we can. If you think of military, armies, some places that it's doing disaster relief, where there's flooding and things like that. I've actually seen some really cool things, and y'all have too, where robots have gone under rubble in things like places where there's been earthquake where a person couldn't get. So different embodiments of physical AI, I think, are very, very valuable.
All right, all right. Thank you
Yeah,
for adding to that.
I just want to add 2 cents here. I just want to add 2 cents here as Stephen continued talking about the disastrous management of robotics. I'd like to add we can also use these AI agents, not AI agents, artificial intelligence in space, where the astronauts they need to move out of the spacecraft for some kind of workings along even the spacecraft inside and outside. There we can use these autonomous systems of artificial intelligence embodiment so that it will be safer for humans to stay inside the system and they can guide it from there then.
Thank you, Pooja. You've said that very well. And before I even go to the next question, my next follow-up would be, we've mentioned all the benefits, disaster management, space, and I just want to raise a concern that someone mentioned yesterday about physical AI. What happens when a physical AI damages property or it does harm to someone? Or let's go to the medicine world. What happens when a physical AI, a medicinal robot, does surgery on the wrong part or does it wrong or forgets an item there? What really happens? Who takes the responsibility? We're going to that. But first, I want to hear from you, Marianne. What would responsible design for physical AI look like at scale? So, how do we design them very responsibly before we go to the disasters?
I think the first thing is think like safety constraints are very important because errors can affect like people, objects, and shared spaces. So designing for safety, oversight, and accountability as core product values in this AI um, uh, robots, machines, etc., is something that we need to have in mind. It's by default. Safety first is the default. Then the human oversight by design. So clear who can override when and who. So think of the edge cases that we can face. Then the clear accountability, like who own the manufacturer, the operator, how to manage audit logs and incident reporting. So responsibility doesn't disappear into the AI did it. It's just it needs to be a human behind. And the transparency of limits. So the robot should communicate what it's doing, why, and what it can do. So humans don't over trust it because when we put a face and, for example, a body similar to us, it would be really difficult for people to understand that probably empathy is not something you can assume, or moral judgment or situational awareness that the system actually don't have or don't understand. So other thing I think is privacy and also the dignity in shared space. So consent rules, especially around homes, kids, vulnerable people. Also, the thing that bias and inclusion in the physical world. So think about like different bodies, mobility needs, accents commands, for example, different accents, lighting, cultures, and environments is really important. So with that, the regulation proportional to risk. So, for example, higher risk use case in healthcare in public streets require strict certifications or documentations or audits that other low risk settings.
Yes, Marion, you said that very profoundly, and I believe that this needs for that transparency, what this robot can do and what it cannot do, and there should be that disclaimer. Please, this is not a human. Don't relate to it as a human. This is something that you order around and give it tasks to perform. Siva, I want to hear your input on this. What's your take?
Are you talking about me?
No, Siva, and then I can come to you, Stefan, as well.
Yeah. So as a software architect, I'm seeing in a kind of a different perspective, like, when it comes to scaling. So the at scale, the responsibility is less about intent, and it's more about system behavior under stress, under lot of load, under a lot of request. So that's how I kind of saying. So at a scale, kind of considering maybe 4 or 5 pointers. The one is by the safety by construction. It's not by policy, meaning it's not just a we have to give some ethical steps towards the process that we are doing, but not by policy always. For an example, and if you consider an EV charger, AA may optimize charging speed, but hardware interlocks the enforce absolute electrical limits. We want to give us full charging speed, but it doesn't. The hardware limitations may come into the picture. So it has to balance the stuffs. So that's where the safety by construction comes into the picture. And when it comes to the human authority, where I can think of the kind of for an example, I would quote, in a factory, A can self-correct process drift, but escalation path exists for abnormal patterns. So meaning, it can clearly override it. It should the responsible should ensures that it should clearly override the mechanisms. Meaning, like sometimes we should not the humans cannot approve every decisions, but
Yes.
humans must retain the ultimate authority here. So we should be careful about that. And maybe the last but one other point is that the observability, meaning the responsible AI, when we design at the huge scale, it requires a continuous telemetry that has to be sent to us, and
Yes.
The behavior monitoring, not just accuracy. We need always to ensure that the monitoring, what is actually happening, that should be monitored appropriately. And it should be always stable, meaning before it goes into the instability, it has to give the early warnings to us. So
Yes.
things like that we have to consider when we design in a huge scale.
Definitely, exactly. You know, From what I've gotten from you, I believe humans should always be on top of this game. That is what I'm
Yeah.
getting from you, and I couldn't have said it much better than you did. There was something that was raised about anthropomizing, right? If I don't pronounce it right, please kindly forgive me. But I want us to really cover this topic deep. Where did humans over anthropomorphize? And I will start with you, Stefan. I'll bring you on board, Pooja, Golden. I want to hear from you as well. Stefan, your
Uh,
mic, please.
okay.
Stefan,
Few
Stefan,
months ago.
Stefan, Stefan,
Oh,
Stefan.
okay. I thought Pooja first.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, me, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I want to throw out an idea that maybe there's a non-physical, physical AI that's in there somewhere. I saw someone that was talking about generative physical AI. So maybe in our minds, I think we can over anthropomorphize it when we don't realize its capacity right now to do something in our physical body. So right now, I have a computer, I got phones around and stuff. And the AI in those are causing people neck pain. And just looking at it, y'all understand that what it's doing ailments in the lower back, the shoulders, the upper back, hypertension, depression, loneliness, isolation. So you don't need to have some robot walking around that has arms and legs for AI to have a physical effect on us, which that determines some of our effect on the rest of the world. So I'm really into the part of what's going on right now. We don't even need arms and legs, but think of the physical, non-physical part of AI that's happening right now. I just wanted to throw that in. And by the way, that Roomba, yeah, it got hacked. It's a vacuum cleaner that goes around. It's got eyes on it and sensors. And people were looking in people's living room and then talking to them. And, they had to say, man, that was a hack. We had something wrong. So reset your robot. So it was that movement from physical back into a world where humans were. So again, I don't want to underestimate the strong physical part of what is happening right now between our interface with AI and just a computer without hands and legs.
Stefan, that is such a striking observation, and thank you for sharing that. And I just want to hear more thoughts about that. Pooja, do you have something to add to that, as well as you, Golden
Yes.
and Mhm.
Yeah, I have something parallel to speak actually. People tend to imagine that machines are smarter and more understanding than they really are. And they think so because at times, the machine is speaking the same language as we are speaking, and they have this appearance issues as well. And the second point I want to say is that our brains are wired to see other beings as having intentions and purpose. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. 2 weeks back, I was in the mall actually with my kid, and we went to this play store, Hamleys, and there were other kids also, and they were checking out toys. And there was interestingly, what this storekeeper, the store manager has done. He has introduced tiny bots, tiny bots as in, so they were in the store and they were talking to the kids as in 1, 2, 3, 4 till 10, or maybe ABCD, maybe some sentence in English or something like that. And the little kids were actually enjoying and interacting with those bots. And you won't believe, the parents were so happy, and the parents started talking to each other, and they were like, see, these people are playing together. So they said, they didn't realize that there are bots over there with the kids. So they said, the people, even for bots, the little bots for them were people. So it was very, very, interesting to see that how we perceive these bots, because we sitting here in the panel, we understand, the physical AI, we understand the AI agents, we understand the platform and everything. But these parents who are from different domains, they're going to the mall and this arena, very, very relaxed. Do you see the mindset? They don't see them as bots, as a
Yeah,
physical entity, as we are talking and, playing on the platform. For them, they were entities, living entities.
yeah,
So yeah, this
like
is
a
a small
teen
thing.
toy.
Yes, yes, but they were not considering them as toys. They were like friends, the buddies of their kids. So yeah,
That's
this is
wow.
what one perception is there in the market. Yeah.
All right. I take that into consideration. I also resonate with that. I have seen whereby, and I think that is why people anthropomorphize AI with the kind of example you've given, especially when they start when they're kids.
Yes.
Remember when you just create robots that can talk? Okay, they may not have a conversation, but they're just generally wired to talk, and you introduce them to kids, and then when they grow up they now meet physical AI. Why would physical AI be a stranger to them? This is something that I saw when I was a child. This is something that I interacted with when I was a child, but now I'm an adult. I see them now. They're robots. They're more packaged. They can sense my environment. They can sense my feelings. And I'll follow up with the question, is that dangerous or is that good? But I'm going to come to you, Golden. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I think what you were saying, it's a dangerous, is it good? It's all about context. It's always going to be about context and situations. But humans, where do humans over anthropomorphize is we see it every day, like we said, like in children. However, I'm starting to notice in the branding and the strategy world is that people are adding human traits, right? Most frequently in areas where they seek companionship, comfort, or understanding of the unknown. This is where humans tend to add human characteristics and emotion to things. And outside of pets and domestic animals, as we know, outside of artificial intelligence, outside of innate objects in nature, we're starting to see that in commercial products and brands, which is why it's such a huge thing right now when it comes to personal branding and brand architecture. Corporations often use anthropomorphic characters to make products seem more friendly, more trustworthy. It's about, selling this persona. So underlying psychological causes is for social connection, it's for effective motivation. So this is why AI will continue to be in that realm, because people often assume machines understand intent when they actually don't. Let's make that very clear. We read meaning into behavior, so we think a robot knows better. It just has access to information, doesn't know how to actually use the information unless prompted by a human. We assume it understands consequences. Again, needs context. It's going to need someone to prompt that in, a human, to do that. And we treat consistency, their consistency, as a form of judgment. So the risk isn't emotional attachment at this point. It's actually overestimating the machine's awareness. It doesn't have awareness. It has access to information, probabilities, and scenarios. But that awareness of the greater whole in a human embodiment, going back to human embodiment, that is going to be something that is very true to humans, and that's going to help us form the physical interactions with AI. But again, humans do need to have that literacy, that awareness, that we don't place that overestimating that the machine knows better. It doesn't. It has access to things. It doesn't know how to use it. The same way we humans have access to information, have access to things, but we still don't know how to do certain things. It's kind of in that context.
That's a great point, and I see a lot of people nodding to that. I see some follow-ups views coming up, but I want to hear from you, Key, then Stefan, and then Marian, because I saw most of you agreeing to what she says. But Key.
Absolutely. The entire panel, that this one particular question, everybody has hit it on the nail. Everything that everyone has said thus far is like to the T, because you see, as humans, we kind of often confuse politeness for understanding. We also can confuse expressions for emotion, and the machine is assisting us, so we confuse assistance for intention as well, and also consistency for trustworthiness. So when that machine, when it happens to look and act human like, we tend to overestimate that judgment, that empathy, and that moral reasoning.
All right, I think we're all in agreement that we all think most of us, but I believe majority of the people in the world would confuse the understanding of AI and the information they have from to awareness or care or empathy. But I want to hear from you, Stefan. What's your take on this?
So I want to gently but passionately put this out there that I heard Mustafa Suleiman, he's the head of AI at Microsoft. He says, well, we're at a place of it being seemingly conscious. And it's an interesting word he chose because he was trying to get us ready for something that will be conscious. I just want to put this out there that what I see that is, well, it's conscious enough. It has enough context. It knows intent enough. So it doesn't take us connecting all the human words. Right now, it's doing it with just enough. And I hate to say it, but in one of our states in the United States, two young girls were kidnapped by somebody who thought this person was safe in Roblox, and that connection that was made was enough to tie something that was in a computer to something that was real. And thank God they found the two young girls, and they were sisters. But it only has to be enough. And this idea that we're going to jump to a place where, oh, it's emerging or it is now emergent, I think we're emerging now. And all of these things, I like to think of them with the word digital in the front. Well, forget the word conscious. It's digitally going to have some type of digital consciousness, digital emotions, digital personhood, digital empathy. So it keeps me from assigning everything to be embodied in a person that's with a robot. It's just going to be a digital person. I'm sorry for going so long, but I wanted to throw that out.
I appreciate that you brought the aspect of consciousness. I also think that is very important. Adding to the layer of the much data that physical AI has, we're not going to a world of consciousness, which I feel it sounds like an alarm for me, a dangerous alarm or a warning for me. But Maria, I want to hear your thoughts, and I also want you to tell us where does physical AI demand new ethics? But please bring your thoughts on.
I think wrapping up everything, like over trust blurs responsibility and can reduce like human vigilance in safety critical moments. So yeah, as I said, it's always have in mind that it's not good enough. Like you need to validate and be really, really sure about like who is behind, what are the guides, what are the ethics, what are like the like the main topics that they have in mind when they build, when they train, when they deliver, they deploy these machines. So physical AI like demands new ethics because these machines are going to share space with humans and make decisions consciously that affect like body, safety, and dignity, not just data. So in software, we are talking about data, about information, and probably it will be like a security leak of information. But here we are also thinking about like we need to encode social norms, right of way, personal space, care, fairness, which are contextual and cultural, not universal. So ethics shift from abstract principles to situational judgments in the real world.
Yes, Marianne, that was very important that you say that. But I have a very brief follow up and a quick follow up. You mentioned that it's very important to know the intention behind it, the makers or who made them, what inspired them to do that. But how do you find out? I find us in the world we live in, we majorly consume things that we don't know who created them, what was the intention, what's in it there. We were recently talking at Food Summit, and we were talking about the food and the ingredients that were there, and majority of us don't even know the things that are there, and they're harmful. But Marianne, so how do we get to know who are the builders? How do we hold them accountable? And anyone can chime in as well, Marianne.
I think that's why it's really important thinking about like what will be like the governance of the ethical AI, but in things like it will be like open, it will be like democratic, probably. So just don't think like the machine is not only doing the task, is deciding what
Mhm.
should be done, when and why. And probably for that, we need responsibility and oversight.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate that insight. Siva, I see that you have something to add. Please say it.
Yep. So physical AI introduces a new ethics, because it brings we have to introduce a new ethics because it brings autonomy into the physical world. These systems act on our behalf and affect people who never opted in. Like maybe for an example, in a shared place, maybe if a delivery robo, is on the street, is trying to deliver. It not just to try to address the user, but it also address the public. So it may cause an irreversible harm there. So we should be careful. There we should introduce a new ethics to the systems. That means the ethics must address delegated agency, risk distribution, and accountability. Unlike traditional AI, the core ethical challenge is not a bias in the outputs. It's impact under failure. So if something got failure, what we must be doing. And the responsible physical AI, it designs for the worst case scenarios. Uh, and for an example, maybe let me shift on. And also, I could think of treating safety as a kind of primary concern, rather
Yes.
than giving the output to the user. Meaning, it has to act not just to the user, but it also has to address the unforeseen scenarios are what it's actually been trained on earlier.
Yes, definitely. Siva, what you just said really captures the risk that is ahead, and I beautifully think that you provided a very essence or a good solution for that. But I also want to hear from you, Pooja. What do you think about physical AI and what kind of ethics does it demand?
More or less, I think Shiva covered quite a bit. But when we talk about the ethics, I think a couple of things we need to include as a statutory body, the ones who taking care of ethics and guardrails. Like for instance, like who gets to move freely. I mean, there should be a body which functions on these grounds. And number second, the function as in they need to write the rules and regulations on this, like who gets to move freely. Number two, how resources are shared. And number three could be how close they allow people to be with them, because you never know what, certain, I don't know, configurations misfires or something like that. So for safety hazards, so there should be a body of protocols, to be more specific. And we need to follow all those protocols, so that I think previously somebody, I think you only questioned that if in case a bot is not able to function properly, who is to blame for it? So currently we don't have such guardrails in place. So I think before deploying these autonomous physical agents into the market, into the people, we should have these guardrails set so that we know, okay, this is the point of reference we have to look forward to in case of anything happens, worst case scenario happens to the people. Yeah.
Beautiful said. Thank you for that good observation. But I have a follow up. You've said there needs to be guardrails. Who puts those guardrails? Who is accountable? That remains my question until today. Who does that work, and how do we come collectively as a
Like,
society and bring that together?
yes, like Stephen, he's into some think tank community kind of a thing, So
Yeah.
I believe that when we talk about AI systems as well, the people who are working behind the scenes, the researchers, the one who is ready for deploying, the people who are funding, the governments, everything, all these bodies show so that there should not be any kind of biases with the product. So I believe that people across the verticals, across the globe should have this organization. For example, we have this United Nations Health Organizations, So it's a statutory body across global statutory bodies. So I believe that, for the guardrails and ethics in terms of AI, we should have certain kind of bodies framed. And after that, the deployment should be there.
Yes, I share that
Yeah.
perspective. I see Stefan and Golden. You have something to add to that, Stefan, then Golden, please.
Yeah, I'll do it really quick. So when ChatGPT came out November 30th of 2022, that first week it was becoming really clear to me that I think all of this might one day find its foundation in the word ethics. So
Mm,
who is out there leading in that? It almost seemed like, the ground, it's a concrete, with a tar, the foundation that we stand on, because it seemed like this AI is opening up a place for ethics can mean almost anything at any time. And I remember I did a keynote at a university here in North Carolina, and it was on the deep fake of words. So we know what a deep fake is with like art and this and that, but words are starting to have, man, I think that's ethics. It looks like ethics, but then another one and another one. And my search led me to a guy who had written a book named called Superintelligence. He's a professor overseas. He was at Oxford, and now he runs some organization. But his writings on ethics was causing the philosophers and the developers to look at that. And then the money people were looking at that. And it was all coming around to a few people who were literally defining it. And I told him at one point, I said, you have a lot of responsibility on you because people are listening to this stuff you say. And
yes.
when you say ethics is this, I mean, who's the guy? Elon Musk and Bill Gates, they
Mhm.
go holding up his book on superintelligence, but there's people who need to be in that conversation. And when I say need to be, it's not who's doing it, but who's the person getting to the person who's doing it. That's the hard thing, is getting in that realm of where they are. But the idea of multiple definitions of ethics is almost like our foundational ground everywhere being quicksand, or it's murky and it's malleable. So I'll stop at that.
Yes, Stefan, you were kind with your insights, and that resonates deeply. I believe one of the standards that why we came up with ethics as a standard for GatherVerse is to bring people like you and to bring the people who we need to talk to really define ethics well, because they should understand the magnitude of how they define ethics and what it means to the whole community. So I really appreciate that. Stefan, Golden, you had something to say. Please bring it on.
Yes, I wanted to touch on the question you had, which was who is going to be responsible. And so AI doesn't have a personality, doesn't have consciousness, right? It doesn't, it has a creator. So it's always going to go back on either who built it, even who used it, who is controlling it. Those are some three ways you can see who's going to have the most risk in it. But then I think about the black box problem, which is instructable nature of AI decisions. In systems engineering, it's hard to identify the root cause or the error when it comes to AI, which is probably why there's this like gray area, because again, it's hard to find the root cause of everything. Just like a human being, it's hard to find like what started this disease, right? What started this probably sickness. We could have that surface level thing, but now we have to look deeper into the DNA, the genetic encoding. Like there's just a black box. It's kind of infinite of all the different types of errors, but it's always going to go back on who created it, who built it, and then also how it's being used, so the user operator, because there is such thing as negligence deployment, which is using an AI system for a task it was not designed for, right? So being clear on what the AI is being used for, having that ethical awareness, it could fall on the person using it because of that, but it also can be fallen on the manufacturer for design defects and data issues. So it's definitely a new industry that's forming when it comes to ethics and who is quote unquote to blame. But I think we are going to be all in that pot, and it's just about labeling based off of context and the outcome of what it is.
Wow, Golden, that was a very thought-provoking insight, and I think that is food to think about. That is something to really ponder. And Key, I'm coming close to you. How do humans interact differently with a robot than a digital assistant?
That's simple. Most humans, we're tangible. We like something that we can actually touch. Digital assistant, yeah, we can see that digital assistant. We can interact with that digital assistance. But robots have presence. We can see that robot. We can touch that robot. And they can have social impact as well. So we as humans, we automatically adjust behavior around robots in ways that they do not with software anticipated movement. So respecting space and assigning intent. So again, we as humans, we like to touch, and we can actually interact with the robot in ways that we can't with the digital assistant.
Yes, beautifully said. I couldn't have said it better. Marianne, I see you have something to add. Please do. Your mic, please. Yeah.
Yes. So I think just trying to wrap up everything. So robots raise higher expectations around awareness, empathy, and responsibility, because it's not only informational, it's transformed to social. The interaction is social and it's physical.
Amazing. And I see that we are trying to wrap this fast, but I have more questions for you before I see our time is ticking. And I am coming to you, Shiva. How do ethics shift when machine act autonomously in shared spaces? No, let's think about shared spaces. How do ethics shift? I know we've tackled this, but I want to hear more from your angle.
Okay. The sad spaces change the ethical equation because the people cannot opt out of the interaction with the autonomous systems. That shifts the ethics from concern to the duty of care, from performance to the predictability, and from individual decisions to the system level impact. Machines don't have an intent, actually. They does everything by what it has, what it's pre-computed. They don't have any intent. So the accountability must remain with the human. So they must decide, what it has to do. So they has to be an always kind of superior to the machines. Ethical physical A in shared space is about the conservative behavior, and then it should clear out the signaling, and it should be protecting everyone. That's where the kind of primary intent I wanted to share.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And that gave me a very imaginative scenario whereby maybe EVs, these electric cars or electric bikes, totally automatic, and they're in shared spaces like roads. I think those are one of the most delicate spaces to be in. And what if such things cause an accident? Humans do cause accidents as well, right? We acknowledge that humans do cause accidents as well. But now we are in an autonomous electric vehicle or a motorcycle. How do we merge the traffic rules, the human rules, and who manufactured that? How do we bring that scenario together? Because I'm imagining of such spaces. But Pooja, I'm coming to you. I want to understand your point of view when it comes to ethics, when it comes to shared spaces as well.
Yeah, sure. I think most of the things Shiva has already covered. I have again 2 points. Like
Yes.
humans rely on intuition, and we have this cultural norms to resolve any of the conflicts when it's between human. And when we talk about accidents on the roads, again, as you said, it's mostly it's our fault as humans. Again, we could resolve it because we understand there are certain protocols. But
Yeah.
when it comes to machines or autonomous vehicles, as we are talking about, these machines must rely explicitly on two things. Number one, encoded ethical frameworks. We have to encode into their systems. And number second is probabilistic decision making under uncertainty. So, this requires designing systems which are capable of transparent ethical reasoning that remains consistent across diverse contexts, so that as a person who is judging them, they can refer to these protocols or documents, as I'm saying, so they can pass out a judgment to it, because we cannot really blame a machine or an autonomous vehicle for any mishap happens. So again, as I said, we need to have this safeguards and protocols in place so that we can refer to.
Yeah, that was very clearly stated. Anyone who wants to chime in on that as well? All right, let me go to maybe perhaps not our last, but yes, our last question. And I want to hear from each and every one of you, and I request you to be very brief. And I will start with you, Golden. What skills will human beings need as robots become everyday co-workers? Briefly.
I love that question because I'm actually doing a lot of research and field notes on this. And one thing that I am becoming more aware of, the data that's showing, is that the most important skills will be judgment when rules are conflicted, oversight rather than actually controlling the situation. So you're going to have some type of observation skills without having to jump in and physically do something about it. But the top three things is pattern recognition. We have to have the skill of recognizing patterns now. We have to become more aware of our environments intentionally. We have to learn how to utilize the patterns we are noticing instead of it being I know a lot of people use it as victimhood right now. There's a class of humans that do that. However, to evolve, which is what is always the standard, is to how do you use the patterns in the environment that you have and how do you utilize them. The third one is creating those patterns. How do you recreate those patterns again and again and again and again? Understanding the context is a huge skill as well, and not just following instructions. And so humans stay valuable where situations are unclear, they're sensitive, but there's a solution there at the same time.
All right, Golden, I have to really put it as brief as possible because I need to hear from everyone.
We're in it. Go for it.
All right, Key, what's your take briefly? And then over to you, Pooja.
All right. Okay. My three top I'll leave it with is one, first of all, one key skill that you cannot get around. You cannot avoid it. You're going to need AI literacy. You can't avoid it. You can't try to skip it. System thinking, and what else? Ethical reasoning, and also deep human skills.
All right. Literacy stands out for me. Pooja, what's your three takes?
Yes, I just have one point this time, and that is recognizing the limitations of machine outputs. We need to recognize where the limits are, and accordingly, we can collaborate with the machines.
Oh,
that's it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Stefan, what's yours? Your mic, kindly.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah, so this is what I feel is probably developing a firm sense of identity, of first knowing who you are and whose you are, because reality is forking. And secondly, I think finding faith. I think finding faith and working on that is a bigger thing, and it connects to all of this here. And I think a sense of perception. So I understand learning all this AI stuff, but some of the inner things in us, I think they can develop. We need them, maybe even more than some of the skills on AI.
Definitely. Understanding faith stood out. Marianne, what's your take? Briefly.
So managing the system.
You might.
All right, we lost. We can't hear you.
So, okay. So physically I can act, but it cannot own the outcome. So moral accountability, meaning and responsibility must always remain human.
Oh, definitely. Shiva, briefly, what's your take?
Yep. My quick 2 cents are the humans, they can't compete with the robots on the precision. Rather, what we have to excel is on the context, the ethics, and systems thinking, and the judgment when it's under ambiguity, the supervision, and then the accountability.
Wonderfully said. And panelists, thank you so much for being kind with your insights. We could have gone more and more, and I believe the audience that is watching have gained something from this. And I kindly request you, if you're watching these panelists, please follow what they do interact with them, support them. And just to correct what I had said earlier, yes, we have over 400 models per week and over 50,000 AI built platforms launched per week. And today we just discovered why we need more robots. So thank you so much. And for me and the GatherVerse team, our Gather was well for the first panel day 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.